Hello. I've been thinking a bunch lately about YouTuber burnout. I remember back in the day when I would talk at schools. My basic template for a talk, if I wanted it to be inspirational, was don't compare your stories to someone else's highlights, or like don't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. And that's really because that's what I was going through at the time. And until now, I face a lot of imposter syndrome. But I had a conversation with Pauline a few days ago, talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, wherein, in the middle, you've got love and belonging. On the top, you've got self actualization. And I think that that has a lot to do with YouTuber or vlogger burnout. Creator burnout is no new topic to anyone watching this video, I'm pretty sure. I used to do it 3 times a week while doing thesis in college. That was maybe the most consistent that I ever was. And I still really am grateful for that time. But I remember waking up, a few months after that peak era of my YouTube career and just feeling so purposeless. This was after I graduated, so I really had nothing to do. I wasn't, doing a 9 to 5 job. I had no homework to finish or tests to study for. And it was just, making videos. And the grass is always greener on the other side. For sure, I took it for granted. And there are a lot of things that I just wasn't grateful for. But honestly, man, like at the time, all I could really think about was I'm not even being true to myself when I'm creating these videos, and it's not even fun. And what am I even doing it for? Like, I just end up comparing myself to other people. I end up really sad when I look at the numbers of other YouTubers who, I would view as my contemporaries or mga ka-age ko or started around the same time. There were YouTubers then that started after I did and have less videos online than me. Some even less than half of the videos, the amount of videos that I posted. So that seemed to me at the time that they were working a lot less hard and they were getting like 5 times, 10 times the numbers and the recognition as me. And so, I really based my security as a vlogger on the numbers and the external validation. And, times are changing, and I know that the new generation is... Grabe, I'm so old na, no? The new generation is focusing more on like the quality of the content itself rather than trusting someone based on the numbers that they get. And yeah, I guess that's what kind of is pushing me to let's talk about this. Let's reflect on my struggles as a content creator before and where I am now in my journey. So that specific conversation with Pauline initially began because I wanted to make a service statement for content that I was creating for other stuff. If you guys are familiar with Dross, another project that I'm working on, we were making service statements for each of their content channels. Because originally, we were just being honest, like whether or not we would actually watch the content that we're producing. And for some of that content and for some of the team members, we were like, oh, well, actually, no. So we came up with service statements which tie the content that we produce, number one, to a need in the world that people have or a problem that has to be solved. So I need to feel smarter, so I watch educational videos. I need to feel entertained, so I watch funny videos. Or, a little more deeply, I need to feel seen and heard, so I watch the video of a vlogger who's open with his or her struggles, and those struggles identify with what I'm going through right now. And in this age of, well, people say we're getting more and more disconnected. I think that we're getting more aware of that and changing that intentionally, and which is why I think that authentic, not lifestyle. There's so many connotations to that, but like authentic life content, maybe vlog content, might be on its way to making a comeback, especially for creators who are super authentic with what they're going through. If I can see a part of my daily life struggles in the content of someone that I look up to, then I know that I'm not alone, right? And I feel seen and I feel heard. And so we were coming up with service statements that were kind of like that. Number one, yes, to make sure that we're filling a need. And number two, just to make sure that when we create content, even if no one watches it, at least we made it for a deeper purpose and we know the why behind why we're creating it. That's when I realized that it's kind of two-sided, because a lot of content now also authentic, authentic aesthetic. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. More important than self-actualization is love and belonging. And I'm not a psychologist, but I know that everyone wants to feel seen and heard. And that's why, even in movies, like when there's a main character or protagonist, you know that there's a struggle, and you start rooting for that protagonist because you relate to their struggle, right? And that's kind of what makes a good character. And that might speak to kind of the belonging part. Well, I'm not officially referencing Maslow's hierarchy. Someone can correct me. But the other part is self-actualization. And so when part of me, when I, as a viewer, see a vlogger who represents my struggle, but also represents a vision of myself, a self-actualized version of myself, or the self that I want to be, that helps me latch on to that vlogger. So now there's two sides to it, right? It's the authenticity part, relatable struggle, and then the aesthetic part, quote unquote, or the actualized part, or just that is a representation of a facet of the type of person that I want to be. And in general, that can be a formula for life or vlog content creators who want to reach particular audiences. What is the struggle of your audience, and what is the kind of person that audience wants to become? And if you can represent those two things at the same time, then maybe you've found a formula for success as a role model, influencer, content creator. Now the struggle here, and which became my struggle, was that I would make videos that, admittedly now looking back, they weren't amazing, but I loved making them. I wrote a spoken word piece. I looked for the proper music. I spent maybe 8 hours shooting and 8 hours editing. And maybe the thumbnail isn't great. Maybe it could be optimized in better ways. And maybe I didn't play the YouTube algorithm game right. But I would always compare that to another video that I produced completely within 3 or 4 hours, I think, compared to 16 hours of work for the other video. And the 3 to 4 hour video got more than 10 times as many views, even if I wasn't super passionate about it, because it was a prank. And the numbers really hurt me and seduced me into thinking that, yeah, that's what I gotta chase. That's when brands are gonna get me. That's where monetization is best. That's where I'll become more popular. And because I started chasing the wrong things rather than serving the 5 or 6K people, which honestly is a lot. I'm sorry for taking that for granted. People who watched and enjoyed the long video the video that I worked hard on. You get it? And so as creators, we're called to always go back to our service statement. And when we get distracted by numbers, fame, and popularity, and even money, that's when we burn out. And we know this. But diving a little deeper into the thought process of what happens, I had to de-integrate myself. Like the integrity of who I am, the integrity of my service statement, the integrity of the type of content that I was truly passionate about for the types of audiences that I was truly passionate about. I had to de-integrate it. I had to like not be that. And when you de-integrate your creative soul, um, you're no longer authentic to yourself. And how can you be authentic? How can you do the authentic aesthetic thing if you can't even be authentic to yourself? And that begins to disintegrate your soul. You begin to question why you're doing what you're doing. You don't find any life or any joy in the work that you do because you just lost sight of the why and the service to the world or the service to your viewers. Which is why something can be aesthetic or something can have a lot of appeal, but if it's not authentic, both of you get affected. Like both the creator gets affected negatively, and eventually the audience will realize, even subconsciously, that this guy just rode the wave. This guy is just following the trend. This guy is just making what appeals to people rather than making what he or she is truly passionate about. Especially this generation of audiences, they can sniff out when you're not being true to who you are. And so eventually, I lived like a double life or like a split existence. And, there are dangers to exposing your whole authentic personhood on camera in front of thousands of people if you don't put the right boundaries. But I believe there is also a great danger in being one personality outside and another personality when you're with your true self. If you're unaware of it, you can adopt like a Bogart the Explorer personality, and that's a character, okay. But maybe a character is different from a personality. Wherein I was hello Nate Punzalan, but that's when I was like doing meet and greets and talking to all my incredible, amazing I love you viewers. But when I would go back in my room, I was emo, sit on the grass, analyze quietly by myself, Nate Punzalan, and I wouldn't be playing a character. I would have to be two versions of myself, to an extent that I would have to convince my viewers that the Bibo side of me was the real me, and I would have to be like a fake version of me, or an inauthentic version, not plastic, but inauthentic version of me to other people, and I would end up convincing myself that that's actually who I am when it's really not, and there's just so much de-integration, and that's why it's such a common notion, right, for vloggers to, I'm just gonna be myself and I'm gonna stop caring what others think and I'm just gonna make what I want. And that's good. And you know what's so funny there? Vloggers are gonna say like, I don't care if I lose viewers. I don't care if my channel doesn't produce the same type of content anymore, and maybe you came here for this, but I'm gonna produce this instead. If you give it time and that creator is consistent still with their content, a lot of the time they actually just gained more viewers anyway, or the viewers stayed, because that's what viewers are looking for. They're looking for a connection to someone that they can relate to. And when you start being inauthentic, you no longer become relatable and you break that connection. And so it's funny. It's a paradox that works in the creator's favor. Should I call it the burnout paradox, the YouTuber burnout paradox, and then make that the title? When you embrace authenticity, you thrive all the more, not just commercially or on your channel, because you don't lose engagement, you probably gain engagement, and two, you thrive for yourself as well. And I guess the only barrier is like, stop comparing yourself to other creators. You're you. No one else in the world can be you. And the reason that you began gaining traction in the first place, I presume, is because you were you. And if you're still here watching this video, one, you're a legend. Number two, whether or not you're a content creator, remember your service statement. To all the people who create content, I don't know how many content creators are watching, but if you can create and people watch your video and they come away from it saying, wow, I wasn't the only one pala, and I'm not alone pala, whether consciously or subconsciously, and you know, it doesn't have to be this emo, it can be like a lot more subtle, but when you're relatable in that way, I hope you'll be able to see that that is so rewarding. Like, you are impacting the lives and the stories of real human beings. And maybe we'll talk about the self-actualization part a little more in another video. But think about it. Like, everyone has something special and unique and beautiful about themselves. You might not see it if you have imposter syndrome, but the parts of you that other people say are cool, and you enjoy being like that, even if no one called you cool for it, be that. Be a light, an encouragement, an inspiration to others. And, you know, not for your own, like, not to put yourself on a pedestal, but yeah, to serve others. Thank you for staying until the end of the video, sure, but also throughout the whole journey. There are, dude, it's so weird talaga. Parang I'm just so grateful that you're still there. I would still get random comment. I damn it. Like, I thought my content creator era was over. And Pauline kept encouraging me and kept believing in me. But, you know, also, I would run into people in pub that I didn't know, and they're like, yo, dude, your videos. Or my dermatologist, Doc Marge from Elise Aesthetics, shout out, my scars are healing. Or Mika, a founder that I really look up to in the startup industry. You know, like, I thought I would just go all in on the startup industry na lang. Like, it's just so interesting that that you're still here, and that you still believe in me, and I don't know exactly where we're going, but just the past few years of dealing with my imposter syndrome has taught me that in the same way that you've been here for me and that you've believed in me all these years, I want to be here for you, and I believe in you. I believe in you.